What's up, everybody? Welcome back to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. I'm joined now by Scott Lowe, Bobby Amos, and Anthony Gallegos, all three Call of Duty fans, which is appropriate because today we're talking about Call of Duty Ghosts, which was finally announced. We knew it was coming. There were lots of leaks, but today Activision made the official announcement, gave us a live-action teaser trailer, and information like it's coming this year on November 5th, coming to Xbox 360, PS3, PC, and next-gen consoles. No mention of the Wii yet. I want to get your first reactions. Why don't we start with you, Scott?
Obviously we heard so much about this game, way before it actually got announced formally. And, the actual teaser trailer, it's live action, so it's not gameplay, which is, of course, always disappointing for fans of the franchise. But as live action trailers go, it was actually pretty effective. Like it, dropped a number of Easter eggs about, the game and the plot and somehow they're kind of introducing this new sub-brand within the Call of Duty franchise. And I liked it a lot. It was like a minute and a half, and obviously we're hungry for more, but as it turns out, it's not coming until the Xbox event.
Which is May 21st. What were some of those Easter eggs that you mentioned? So I watched the trailer. I'm not a big Call of Duty fan, so when I watched it, it's like, well, here's a bunch of warriors from different cultures, and then there are the ghosts.
Yeah.
Coming November 5th.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it was less of like Easter eggs and more kind of raised questions about how it ties into this, kind of the existing franchise and what they're doing with the new sub-brand, because, the press release and all of the formal acknowledgement of it really kind of drove the point that this is a whole new franchise. It's like it's not, it's not the same characters, it's not the same story, but, clearly with the presence of the Ghost mask, like, that's, Modern Warfare brand kind of character and like themes coming into this new kind of sub-franchise. So it'll be interesting to see how they tie back into that. I have a number of theories that I'm kicking around the head, but obviously that's like highly speculative at this point. Yeah.
What do you think, Bobby?
You know what? Just like Scott said, it was a pretty good teaser trailer and everything, but I'm the guy that plays multiplayer, so
Yeah,
I really want to see some gameplay. I was disappointed that I didn't get a chance to see that. But like you said, just seeing the live action trailer and just putting all the things together, you're just like, okay, starting to get a little excited, but just got to wait to see more from that. But overall, I was happy just that it's announced now, finally.
Feel the same way, Anthony?
They're fighting in the trailer. Well, when it shows all the characters, it's always in the backdrop of like this destroyed city, like a Terminator-looking city. So my dream for this game is that they have enough, like, basically guts to make a game where it's an occupied America thing, where you're, but not like a Homefront where it was like a very just straight up shooting. You knew who your bad guys are. I want it to be like a game where you're playing as basically like a terrorist, a homegrown terrorist. Basically, they call you terrorist, but you're basically playing
That would
as.
be okay.
But I'm saying, they call you terrorist, but you're playing as a freedom fighter.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They would the material they'd put out, like whoever's occupying this country, whether it's like a fallen America or something like that. They're calling you terrorists, but you're basically fighting for freedom, which is why people know when they see the ghosts, like, you're the good guys. You're the ones who are fighting for us, which kind of flips the whole way that the world is right now on its head, But I mean, who gets called bad things is on the eye of who's doing the calling, right? So it'd be really cool if like they took that idea of these ghosts, and that's why they're wearing the mask. That's why they're hiding, because it's an occupied country and they have to.
Yeah. So there were like subtle hints too, like in the narrative where the narrator is talking about like what masks are used for throughout like kind of history with these, to like hide your identity or like like kind of unify like a armed force of some variety or get support from the public, like. Just the choice in terms of like emphasis with regards to this mask and like the thing they kind of zoom in on, what he's saying as he's doing that, like it almost sort of has this vibe like these aren't just guys wearing masks. These are like kind of like a Foxian like kind of faction trying to get the support. They're kind of like rebels or like militia or insurgents,
Basically,
potentially.
yeah.
Like that's the vibe I got from it. And if you actually think back into the events of Modern Warfare 3, which is like, World War III has happened. It's
it's not necessarily going good for us.
Yeah, and we were invaded. The country is
Spoilers, man. I haven't played this campaign.
Well, maybe you need to play it. It's been 2 games now. So, but it's like, so at the end of Modern Warfare 3, the war is over, but the lines are still being redrawn. Russia had fully invaded New York and like much of the country, so like you're looking at like if this, maybe it's not the same story, maybe it's not the same characters, but if it's the same universe, these soldiers could be part of like a still occupied part of the United States where like borders and nations are still being redrawn because obviously that's a huge conflict. So I mean just throwing out there as like a wild bet speculation, but I feel like that's what they're really driving for. And it's just the vibes that it gave off to me.
It'd be really cool for them to deal with themes like people that like go along with it. The people that just are like, sure, invading force, we're with you now, we're following you, we're going to join like the local police. And there's like the idea of like you're shooting people who used to be Americans and stuff. There's a lot of interesting themes they could do there that Call of Duty doesn't necessarily go, and I think that would be really cool new territory. Also, they're always showing that dog in the background with those dudes. And I was like, I love the idea if they do a Call of Duty where it's not like dogs aren't just like a multiplayer device. That's cool if they are, but like the idea of like maybe having like a constant companion or something like that. That would be really cool. Like, I just see that in all these ideas of what I'd like to see in a Call of Duty game start coming ahead, but it's all speculative.
Yeah.
It's interesting you guys seem concerned with the single player story, but like Bobby was saying, he's mostly interested in multiplayer. I think the vast majority of people, I mean, like the campaigns are fairly short, right? And then people play multiplayer for a year until the next game comes out. So it's interesting, like how do you get the vast audience of Call of Duty players out there excited for a game when you're not showing anything about the multiplayer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things we do know that can get people excited for the multiplayer. I mean, they did say this is a whole new engine, so it's not the same engine they've been using for the last 10 years or whatever it's been. Like it's been a long time since, and they've done great things with the engines.
Yeah.
Like Black Ops 2 looks incredible considering it's built on what is essentially a framework from like 2005. Like that's or earlier. So I mean, it's interesting to see what they do with that, and I think that's going to get people excited for multiplayer because obviously, better graphics, potentially resolving a lot of like some of the technical issues maybe some of the community has had, and of course just the concept of really kind of progressing forward. But there's also like rumors. I don't know if you caught up on this, Bobby, but like there was the original YouTuber leak where he was saying that there's going to be new movement mechanics where you can roll around or peek out the sides and sides, moving beyond simply the run and gun combat of the current franchise. Like I think as far as like getting people excited now though, before anything's official, that's the tough part.
Yeah, and we've heard like rumors that both the next-gen consoles are going to have like share functionality for video stuff and whatnot. Like I have to imagine that that's all planned into Call of Duty, like continuing to share your own videos and stuff, being able to shoutcast. And just like the way that Black Ops 2 has gone with the esports initiative, I have to imagine that it's easy to assume that this one will definitely take that and grow it even more. Yeah, taking advantage of what those new consoles have.
So, and
you do Call of Duty commentary.
That's what I was going to say. So being a multiplayer, that's what I'm invested in. You're more excited about that type of stuff. So you see the trailer, it's like, okay, that's cool, but feed me the stuff that I want. Whereas, as Scott was saying, a new engine for the next generation, which that's what we've been waiting for. It's one of the things outside the technical issues that we've always complained about. But seeing that new engine and them building upon and adding new things to that, that's when you start getting excited. And then for the podcast and sharing the videos, you want to see where can you take that on the next platform, and all that stuff is what gets me excited because I do the commentary. So it's like, how can I, expand upon what I'm doing already with Black Ops 2 on the Xbox 360? Whereas with the next console, what is there for me to do? How can I make things better?
I wonder if that November 5th release date tells us anything about when. Like, will that be before the new consoles are out? Just after?
Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of the question, is because, Watch Dogs was just dated, and it's like, mid-November as well.
19th,
something like that. Yeah. So, like, that does raise the question. I mean, there's, obviously there's going to be continued current gen support for these games. Like, games are being developed for both, systems, or, both generations of systems. So, we could interpret that as, yes, those next-gen consoles will be, out before then, or at least at that time, but, who knows? I mean, if you think about it, Call of Duty 2 was a launch title for Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, I mean, it would be, pretty kind of ceremonial and kind of like symbolic for Call of Duty Ghosts to be.
And especially with how much they've, grown together. Like, I could easily even see Call of Duty, there being a Call of Duty Ghosts launch Xbox or something like that combined, just because Xbox and Activision with the Call of Duty franchise, they are very much in bed together. Like it may be a multi-platform game, but that's not how it gets treated, at least publicly. Even all the commercials usually end with an Xbox tag. So
the press release that Activision sent out today said that Call of Duty Ghosts redefines the series for the next gen. The big question I want to ask you guys is: Call of Duty has been the biggest franchise this entire generation. Can it carry that momentum into the next generation?
At least for a year.
I feel like
1 year.
I mean, I feel like it can't really be stopped at this point. Like it's reached this point where it's not just a gamer's franchise. It's like it's so cultural at this point. Like it's in pop culture. Like people are referencing it in movies. It was like the A-Team or something. One of the characters is like, "Oh, this is just like Call of Duty," and you see that stuff all the time now.
And the fact that they do gameplay reveals and stuff in the middle of like NBA playoffs and stuff should tell you something that it's not just for your average person that goes home and all they do is play games.
Yeah, I mean, it like, of course, you know, there's no exception to that. There are exceptions to that rule. Like, you know, things that big can fail, but I mean, it would take a lot for it to not dominate this next console cycle. But, you know, then again, there's so much we don't know. We don't know what games are kind of waiting the wings. We don't know what Respawn is doing, former Infinity Ward guys. See what their big game's going to be. So, I mean, like,
it's going to be going up against stuff like Destiny, right?
Yeah.
From Bungie.
Yeah. At Destiny, we got Battlefield 4. You know, the shooter franchises are definitely racking up for this new console cycle. So it's anyone's game.
What do you think, Bobby? You think you'll still be playing Call of Duty in 5 years?
I guess I won't be biased because I'm such a big Call of Duty fan. I just think you just can't stop this. No matter how much people are going, all the naysayers going to continue to hate on the game.
Sure.
If they come out and they show some new multiplayer footage and just blow everybody away with what the possibilities can be of this next gen or just the game in general, I think it's just going to just build more momentum, and you're going to win over some people, and we're going to go, okay, let's keep riding this horse.
It'll be also be interesting because this is like the first project from the reformed kind of Infinity Ward studio. I mean, they lost a lot of their talent to Respawn, so this is kind of their big like coming out party. Like, you know,
swinging for the fence,
like much. So either they're going to go all out and blow us away, or like, you know,
people are going to call them into question.
Yeah, call them into question. But I mean, hopefully it's the former and not the latter. But I mean, I think that's the bigger kind of like wait and see thing. I don't doubt that the Call of Duty franchise will prevail, but whether this game in particular will be as popular, it'll be interesting.
Well, thanks, guys. We expect to get a good look at Call of Duty Ghosts on May 21st at the Microsoft Reveal event. You can watch the whole thing live right here on IGN with pre- and post-show analysis and very special guests. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for lots more Game Scoop right here on IGN.